Today's episode is sponsored by my day job and free time, and the willingness of people just like you who are also interested and willing to come on the show and join us as a guest. Our goal here at Melting Pot Talks is to facilitate genuine, honest, and in-depth conversations between people of different backgrounds and perspectives who are interested in exploring the most important and interesting issues surrounding our everyday lives. This is only possible through the participation of everyday people who are passionate about their beliefs, but understand that we still have a lot to learn from each other as well. So if you want to be on the show, please send me an email at meltingpottalks@gmail.com. DM me through the Twitter and Instagram accounts linked in the show notes, or visit our website, www.meltingpottalks.com, and click the Join the Conversation link. And finally, if you're on Clubhouse, follow me at Melting Pot Talks and come say hi. We'll be streaming future recordings straight to Clubhouse and offering a bonus Q&A session at the end to participating Clubhouse members. If you want to support the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube and Twitch. And if you like what you see, leave a good rating and a review. I know it seems like a little thing, but it definitely helps us smaller shows get noticed. Thank you, and now, on with the show.
And in helping somebody unlock this part, like Will know this, you like unlock other parts of them. It's like you're learning your gifts of yourself. And not only can you help them, but like you're helping you at the same time.
I had worked with some shamans to do some healing when I lived in Brazil, and I continued that journey when I moved back to the States and moved to Seattle, because for me, I also needed to get to know myself within this. And I think that it was really that spiritual part of me feeling connected to something greater that got me through cancer.
Let's give this person you actually are a chance, and let's try to optimize yourself rather than utilize your training as some kind of jump board to reach an imaginary ideal.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Melting Pot Talks. We have a great show today, and for the first time, we've invited 3 guests on, Haley, Will, and Ashley, to talk about their personal journeys through wellness, as well as share their experiences and add some recommendations on how to begin, maintain, or maximize wellness in your own life. You might notice that today we changed the format up a little bit. To facilitate 3 people, we start with a round-robin individual QA for a couple of questions, where each person gets to speak their mind uninterrupted on the question before passing to the next guest. Eventually, we move on to a more open conversation between the guests. And finally, go back to another individual section and end with their closing thoughts. I'm really excited about this show, as it's a topic many of us, including myself, have had on our minds over the last year or so. So without further delay, let's talk about it. So, Haley, let's start with you. Can you go over what does wellness mean to you?
Okay, so let me first back up to say that my definition of wellness is going to slightly differ, because in my opinion, and part of the opinion of the umbrella of CrossFit, is that we're looking at a health continuum. So if I were to see wellness on that continuum, I'd be looking at the topmost point. If I were to look to my left as a sign of degradation, I'm looking at sickness. We move to the top, wellness, and then all the way to the other side, we're looking at fitness. So in terms of wellness falling under our rubric, we see that as attainable by all. There's a certain number of maybe characteristics that we would see along with a well person. We're balanced physically. We understand nutrition. We have, a handle on good function, meaning, we can deadlift ourselves off the toilet. We can reach the keys that fall on the ground. We're functional. We don't have signs of chronic disease. These are markers that would indicate wellness. But what we're trying to achieve is fitness, this larger piece of pie, so that while I'm trying to achieve fitness, I have all this space to fall back to wellness and then more time to fall to sickness. So in that, I'm like speaking of this piece of pie, and I think we're all speaking of this piece of pie, right? And in that case, we would refer to, as I said, there's, how fast are we recovering? What are we improving in our life? Wellness. Are we sleeping well? Are we happy? Are we content? Are we fit? Can we breathe? All of these things apply to define wellness and or fitness on that continuum. I think that's, I don't know if I want to say this yet, but I think it's no one really knows like how to get there is the part of the problem. Like there's no squat school. There's no like, hey, so much about disc golf and like so much about how to fix a car motors, but you don't know shit about how to like what food to put in your body. You don't know anything about like how much sleep and restorative sleep you actually need or what supplements you should take or nothing. We know nothing. So we're like blindly bumping into trying to figure out wellness or fitness. What was the second part of that? The why? What does it mean to me and why?
Well, it's what does it mean to you, and just any details that you wanted to.
So that's it. Generally, it's an achievable goal, an achievable but elusive goal that all of us are hopefully. I mean, that's part of the goal is to know ourselves. Hopefully, we're all on some level of trying to discover that. But it encompasses so much, right? We just talked about that.
And Ashley, how about yourself? What does wellness mean to you when you think about it from your own personal perspective?
Wellness for me includes mental wellness, and also I consider myself to be a very spiritually minded person, and that faith in something greater than myself has gotten me through some really difficult times in my life. So it's sort of the trifecta of the actual fitness of your body, the foods that you eat, how you are mentally, as well as your faith and your community as well, being connected to others. I think all plays a part in wellness.
How about you, Will?
For me, I think wellness, it is multifaceted. It is physical. It is the mindset, the emotional state, and just it's that harmony between the functionality of all of those systems and the agency you want to express in the world. So wellness for a bodybuilder would not be wellness for a surgeon. A person with that mindset, that training regimen, they may be fit, but they're not well. If that person is trying to have an 18-hour day and a 6-hour training regimen, then there's no time for the rest of them. It's not functional. And so whereas the wellness of that bodybuilder says, I'm going to train for 6 hours a day and I'm going to sleep for 11 hours a night. And that is functional for that person. Staying within that zone keeps them well, because not only are they healthy and fit, but they're at peace with the life that they lead. And so I think that is wellness, when the function you are striving for and the functions you are able to express are in harmony with each other physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Now that we've touched on kind of what your general perception of wellness is, what are your personal goals and priority when it comes to wellness?
Well, I have like two separate kind of running goals. Like when I started fitness forever ago, it was just like, it was freedom. It was like a way to save myself from my shitty life. So that just kind of evolved into like, what's the hardest possible thing I can find to like annihilate myself so I can feel nothing, clear my mind, whatever it was. So like that took me to this where I am now. I don't do that anymore, but that was sort of like, oh, this thing is really hard, and I can push myself into like a terrible horse and get the feeling that I need to get so that I can, whatever my brain capacity is for addiction, this quells that. I will say this though. Okay. And then further on in that journey of like, that was different wants to get there, like what I wanted. Like for instance, at some point after I'd had my third child, I wanted abs. Like I didn't care. I'm going to get them. So I ate 18 eggs a day and Morningstar sausage. That's what's the word? Lacto-ovo vegetarian. There it is. And so I just plowed and I killed my training. And in 9 months, I had ripped belly. Like you could go do laundry on that. And I was so proud of myself. But I had adjusted and shifted everything in my life to make that happen. Like that's still how hard I push all my levers. Like I will try to find excellence everywhere. Otherwise, I don't feel like it's like wasted time to me. So in that, I didn't know this would happen, but it did. Like in finding my physical self, I found confidence, freedom, everything I didn't have that needed to be applied to my spirit to make me whole. And in that, like you said this, like in that, it was a window to like my church. It's a window to like my shit. I think the more I peel layers of like things I don't understand about my body or other people's body, the clearer I am about shit and the closer that I get to understanding things that I didn't before, which is rad. That goes back to knowing yourself. So that happens. Then I shift this is maybe now we're looking at probably like 4 years. This summer will be 4 years. I found out that I have an autoimmune disease. I have MS, and that is like the battle. Like that shit took my balance. Like my job requires me to be able to use my appendages and my hearing and my vision and all these things that like took a big shit. So, oh well, now it's on. Like you're gonna take my balance. I'm gonna tenfold make it better so that this is never an issue. And I mean, we went snowboarding at Winter Park like in February, dude. Like it's like created this ability to, no person is so far away from the feeling of wanting something so bad, and to have like that is every day. Like I feel that I just feel like I can understand that position, and it propels my goals, but it propels their goals too. Everything is freaking capable. Like we have so much potential that we don't allow ourselves to see. And this personal goal of reclaiming my body in a physical way has opened up like doors I never even thought, I didn't even know were there.
Like what?
Anyway, like this. I have experiences with people that are so much bigger than like I'm capable of having. Like it's like an exchange of humanness. Like I'm like a battery or like a lightning rod. And in helping somebody unlock this part, like Will know this, you like unlock other parts of them. It's like you're learning your gifts of yourself. And not only can you help them, but like you're helping you at the same time. Understanding the shit that you have and understanding how you work through that shit helps everybody else work through theirs too, because we're all fucking the same. We're all the same. We all have struggles. Our struggles are different levels, different types of shit, different traumas, but the goal, I hope, people I want to be around, people, the culture I've created is that we dig through that shit. Like we dive into it. And my window, my vehicle happens to be a CrossFit affiliate. That's not like wall balls don't create like spiritual awakenings. Wall balls don't give you the courage to like go ask for a better job or, you know, it doesn't do that. But the culmination of the whole thing, community, you said it actually, like that's part of it, all of that. Anyway, got way off there, but personal goals are large, like lots of stuff happening in my life that I'm super excited about. My family's a part of it. My gym's a part of it. Like living is awesome.
Ashley, how about you? What are some of your personal goals and priorities when it comes to, how you define wellness for yourself?
Well, as I mentioned, for me, it is all about regenerative medicine. And I would say with my personal journey, I wasn't a super athletic. I was an athletic kid. I was a swimmer. But then as a teenager, I was super emo and artsy. And, that just didn't play a priority in my life at all. And then in my 20s, I moved to Brazil and just had a really active life there. I was there for 9 years. I was hiking and, in the mountains, in the forest, and swimming in the oceans. And I was an English teacher. So I was just trekking all over the city, teaching English. And I got really fit while I was living there and was really happy about it. I was happy at the way that I looked and the way that I felt. And so when I moved back to the United States, I made it a priority to maintain that and to actually, join a gym and really focus on fitness as a part of my life. I also recognized too, as somebody who has suffered from depression pretty much my entire life, that when I was active, I wasn't really depressed. And so that was also something that really kept me going and kept me motivated. It's like, okay, on the days that I didn't feel like working out, I knew that if I worked out, I would feel better, not just physically, but mentally as well. So that was something that kept me going. And I remember when I hit my 40th birthday, I felt great. I was like, man, I'm doing really well. If this is how I'm entering my 40s, like, fuck yeah, like I'm going to keep going. And then 2 years later, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma. It was an aggressive form of lymphoma. And like I mentioned to you all, that pretty much decimated my body, everything from my hormones, energy levels, muscle mass, bone mass, gut flora, everything was just completely wiped out. So since then, that was 4.5 years ago, it's really just been about regenerative medicine. And included in that is a spiritual aspect. I decided to take a shaman training. I did 2 years of shaman training, which was, I had worked with some shamans to do some healing when I lived in Brazil. And I continued that journey when I moved back to the States and moved to Seattle, because for me, I also needed to get to know myself within this. And I think that it was really that spiritual part of me feeling connected to something greater that got me through cancer. And I remember the nurses actually used to talk about that. They would come into my room and they could just tell. Every one of them would say, "I know you're going to make it. I know you're going to make it because you have the attitude and you have this faith in and that you will get through it. And so you will." And these are people that work with cancer patients every single day, and they can tell the difference. And it's true. I mean, it was about the physical part, and getting myself physically healthy. But I don't think that I could have done it if I hadn't been really spiritually tuned in, and, just praying, really. I'm not a very religious person. I don't ascribe to a particular religion. But I do believe that we're all connected. And I felt that really greatly. So yeah, it's been a slow process, but I feel like the cancer really aged me. I remember getting through it. I had to go through 6 rounds of 5-day inpatient chemotherapy. And that was really tough for me because I'd always been somebody that leaned more toward holistic, like naturopathic medicine, taking supplements and just eating really well. And so I really abstained. I mean, I didn't even take any antidepressants, like nothing. I was against all of that. And then I get this diagnosis of lymphoma, and it's really aggressive. And everyone is telling me, yeah, I mean, it wasn't even really a choice. I just went with it. It was like, yeah, of course I'm going to do the chemo. And I think I had I developed a really profound respect for Western medicine, that in combination with a more holistic approach, like continuing to eat well and, taking the supplements to keep your immune system strong and all of that, it was a whole trifecta, that kept me going. And it's really been, since then, I would say, it was the chemo that kind of kept me alive. But then after that, it has been taking the supplements and continuing to work out and, really eating well. And, all of that has helped me to rebuild my body essentially. And, I'm not planning on growing old gracefully. I mean, I think it's really funny. A lot of friends my age, I'm in my mid 40s, and a lot of people are starting to get their aches and their pains and everything. And I actually feel really great. Because I really had to focus on that. I had to rebuild my body, and I'm doing it in a manner that is really conscious. And that's just my journey. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to, people don't think that I am the age that I am. And it's because I'm doing all of the work to prevent, or at least to slow down the aging process.
And how about you, Will? Also, I appreciate you batting cleanup here in this conversation. But good news is you get the last word.
Awesome. I'll take it.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say that there's been a major shifting in what fitness and wellness has meant to me over the last few years, because I never thought of it really as taking care of myself. And what it came out of, like my initial foray into fitness came out of kind of a dark place. It came out of a place of disempowerment and feeling small and feeling insignificant. And the goal wasn't even so much that this is going to make me significant. It was almost a punishment. Going into the gym was a punishment for being insignificant, and almost a place filler for a kind of self-mutilation. And so that was a lesson, realizing that you can do a positive thing for the wrong reason. And I'm thankful for the instinct for bringing me to it. But realizing that instinct was no longer serving me was a process. And it culminated in my shattering my elbow a couple of years ago, in the middle of a gig that had nothing to do with fitness. But just realizing how much that I put myself through was this kind of punishment, and how much self-judgment went into it. And even realizing that wasn't something I even accepted from my clients. I would never let my clients speak ill of themselves, but I did it all the time. So coming to just this realization that I am trying to take care of myself. I am trying to inspire others to take care of themselves, because when I hear someone speak ill of their body or of themselves, I always like to ask them the question, how much care do you take of the things that you hate? I hate spinach lasagna. I'm doing nothing in my life to make spinach lasagna better for the rest of the world. All right. So if you hate yourself, if you hate your body, you're going to treat it like something you hate. And that's not going to get you there. That, self-love isn't just this kind of woo notion. It's necessary for survival. And so, my goal in wellness is to set myself goals. Yeah, I set goals like I want to do 5 more pull-ups by the end of a couple months from now. And that's great. That's a lot of fun. but I want to take care of myself and I want to enjoy myself. I want my workouts to occur in a state of flow where, there's a great ad, an ad campaign going on right now, for some BS company, but it's like, what if joy isn't the end game? What if joy is the whole game? And that's become my goal, is to find enjoyment in my own training. And that's my selling point really as a trainer. I tell people, look, if you need the best trainer in the world for whatever sport or endeavor you've got, there's a better one than me, I assure you. But if you want to enjoy yourself, if you want to look forward to the challenges you're going to face yourself with, that's what I do. And I mean, that also overlaps with my my work as an entertainer. I'm an entertainer / trainer. And I wouldn't walk into a gym if it wasn't fun. I don't walk into anywhere unless it's fun. And so that's my brand, and that's my goal, is that you got the one body you were issued. There won't be another one, and take care of it and enjoy it.
Let's go on to the last individual question here. Haley, what has been the biggest obstacle to achieving your goal or priorities, and what did you do to overcome, or at least to address it?
So I've lived a long time, like, not having the option to try hard based on circumstance. So like, once I got the option to try hard, I just sort of like stay focused on that, and it helps my brain, it helps my body. So I don't really see obstacles. I don't know, I see them like maybe a speed bump or something, but I don't really like to look at things that way, because I don't know, everything can usually be resolved or figured out. So for instance, my balance issue, I just made that my priority. I'll have scenarios of obstacles. For instance, a family member had 3 trees fall on their house, and so they lived with us for a period of time, like 9 weeks. And I was forced to train out in the elements because my dojo was filled with things that, belong to them. Maybe that's an obstacle, but only if you want to see it that way. So I think a lot of that, like Will said, mindset's major. And we'll get to this at a point, but it's motivation versus discipline. Ashley had no option. She had to have discipline to find wellness or, further on that spectrum. It doesn't sound like Will really had an option either. So I don't know. I think people that have a certain mindset about achievable goals or goals in general don't really have obstacles slow them down. You just plow through them, or to your best ability. I mean, that's definitely not always smooth like butter, but it's constant effort and discipline to continue to do the thing will lead you to betterment or improvement.
Perception and intent go a long way.
Very far.
Ashley, how about you? What are what have been some of the obstacles that have gotten in your way to achieving those goals? And what steps have you taken to address them?
I agree with Haley. Obstacles, I feel like, is kind of a strong word to use. I know I definitely, going back to depression, for a really, 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 really long time, I was against taking any sort of antidepressant. I felt like, through exercise and finding community and everything, that I could live without it. And then I don't know, about 2 years ago, I would say, I found myself just in a really down moment and not feeling motivated to do anything. And I thought, okay, this is stupid. It's just stupid. I need to do what I need to do to get myself feeling better, just mentally, and not in this hole. And so I worked at my primary doctor is a naturopathic doctor, and I worked with her to find an antidepressant that worked for me. And that really made such a difference because I had been in places like that before, and it had taken me a really long time to get myself out of that hole. And, at this point in my life, I'm like, you do what you have to do, and even if that does mean taking some Western medicine to help you get there, then do it. I had always kind of looked at Western medicine as like the devil. And now I'm like, okay, if I need to take something, a little something just to get myself going again, and that did really help. So I would say, yes, that lack of motivation, but the lack of motivation due to the depression that I had has really been the biggest obstacle. And I guess maybe impatience. I'm one of the most patient people in the world for others. But when it comes to myself, I tend to be incredibly impatient. And so I did have moments where I was like, is my body ever going to get back to what it was before? So yeah, those would be the two biggest things. I think I had to just really celebrate the small successes that I made along the way to keep myself going. But for me, it was really the big motivating factor was like, fuck cancer and what it did to me. Like, I'm not going to let it change my body for the rest of my life, because I knew what it was like to have a really healthy body before. So determination.
Okay, so Will, we're going to jump over to you, but I think this is, worthy to maybe stop and reset from kind of the question that I was asking. Is obstacle the right way to look at it then? What's your experience been with that? And feel free to kind of correct the language that I'm using in this to better define your journey on that.
I personally don't have a problem with the word obstacle. I think it's pretty apt. And it's weird because I'm going to get a little metaphysical here, because I think that there's a lot of pop psychology that tells us that all of these struggles come from within, and they're not wrong, but they're not entirely right, in my opinion. Because I do see these things as obstacles. So how does that how is that an obstacle from within? I had the wrong goals. Why was that obstacle there? Societal pressure. I didn't come up with the idea that a man should be a certain size and a certain strength and should inspire fear, respect, and lust in all who perceive them. I didn't come up with that idea, but I sure as hell bought into it. And that motivator was corrupt, because I'd never be that. I was chasing a phantom, and a made up one at that. I wasn't trying to be the best version of myself. I was trying to get the hell out of myself and go be somebody else. So that external obstacle of societal pressure internalized it in having the wrong goals and spending a lot of years training really hard, running away from a self that I would never escape, and not taking the time to turn inward and say, you know what? Let's give this person you actually are a chance, and let's try to optimize yourself rather than utilize your training as some kind of jump board to reach an imaginary ideal.
So before we move on, we're going to open everything up here. Did listening to each other spark something in your mind that you're like, I should have said that? Or go ahead, Haley.
Not for me. I got to talk last.
I just want to give us a time to kind of wrap up that first section, and then we'll jump back and we'll, like I said, we'll open everything up, and we're gonna focus on the application of the of the lessons learned and principles here. So Haley, what's going on?
Okay, so I was just thinking about this. We were talking about personally, like, how do we see obstacles as things that slow us down, or do we see obstacles And mindset really adjusts that. But of course, there are obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and in that, the obstacle becomes the way. Like, we are presented with all this shit, and our mindset says, I can do that or I can't do that. I'm willing to see that or I'm not willing to see that. But like, if we are to progress, we will face the obstacle, and that will become the improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's a fair. We can sit on that topic for a little bit too. That the definition of an obstacle. It doesn't have to be something that stops you. It's not a roadblock, right? It's not stopping you.
It doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be. It can be based on mindset,
mm-hmm.
based on discipline, based on determination.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and if an obstacle course was just a road, who would buy tickets to watch that?
Right. Agree. But also in that, we all know that anything worth having is going to be damn hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
And that applies to self-awareness. That applies to physical fitness. That applies to spiritual awakening. That applies to pretty much everything.
Hmm.
So in that, that's like twofold. Like, you don't want to disregard that there might be a speed bump here. That's important to note, but we don't have to look at that like a scary, terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I mean, cancer's terrible and scary. And you're a damn soldier, Ashley. I just want you to know that. I am currently having many friends that sending love to that are soldiers as well. Like, again, like what's relevant for her isn't relevant for us because we haven't experienced that shit, which is a whole nother level of bravery.
Mm-hmm.
But there again, the obstacle, she plowed, she said it. She went straight forward. She said, I'm doing the chemo.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the obstacle, and she just crashed the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that, I love obstacles. I love how they inoculate you against, against not fear itself, but inoculating you against that kind of fear that freezes you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a big fan of that whole concept of laughing at the devil, that whatever it is that's presenting itself to you and showing itself to you as I am the thing that is going to take you down, that, the most beautiful thing to do is to stare back, laugh, and go, all right, let's do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that you can really, what is life without obstacles? I don't think that you can be born and live your life without a single obstacle. I mean, to me, that's part of life, is in how you learn about yourself, is how you react to the obstacles that come your way. So yeah, whether that be health related or work related or relationship related, it's kind of par for the course if you're alive.
Well, I think that was a good segue into kind of our next section here. So yeah, let's open the discussion now, and we can go wherever this discussion may lead. But just as kind of a general rubric, I kind of want to talk about starting, maintaining, and maximizing. So if we're going to look at how would you advise somebody trying to start their journey to enhance the wellness in their life? And again, we can talk about physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, what have you. But I'm going to open up the floor. So yeah, what are we going to advise people who are looking to start the process of enhancing wellness in their life?
One of the first questions I like to ask when I've got a new client is, when was the last time you broke a sweat doing something you enjoyed? And then their first answer isn't helpful. Then their second answer is like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. But that's where I start. When was the last time you just really got your heart rate up, did something physical, and you loved it? Was it out dancing? Was it climbing a rock? Was it whitewater rafting? People have an experience like that. The most unathletic person has an experience of doing something where they're out of breath at the end of it and smiling and saying that was great. And that's the, I try to find where that experience lives for someone and then build out from there. Like, okay, let's get you back there. Let's get you back to sweating, huffing, puffing, and loving life.
I follow up with that because, obviously we're tied to fit. I'm married to fitness.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. If you can connect with people, like especially people that are not motivated to come into the gym at all, of which there are so many. First, you have to be confident enough to want to change shit. Like, I got to step into this nutrition clinic, or I have to go into this gym, or I have to do something that changes something else. Have the confidence to do it. And then you have to convince that person that they are worthy of that. Like, you're worthy of feeling better. You're worthy of having, better, more joy in your life, or better fitting jeans, or whatever it is, whatever those goals are. That's hard. So it's like convincing somebody first, like, you can do this, and this is for you because you're a human being. Like, let's remember those parts. Once we can convince people, like, they're kind of doing it. They kind of trip along maybe, but they're doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's like finding the ways to plug into those people that are over there to convince them to come over here. And it doesn't necessarily have to be CrossFit. It could be anything. I just know fitness as a vehicle. I know community as a vehicle. You put the two together, pow, pow, like you got a great combo. So helping people feel like this is something that they deserve to have in their life, the ability to, enjoy the things they enjoy. And not just for now, but for like for a long time. Like, we're trying to do this long term. We're not like looking for a year of like abs and big biceps. We want like function until we're in our 90s or later, hopefully. That's hard to do. Hard to convince people. Working on that.
Yeah, I mean, as the only person here that is not professionally involved in fitness, I don't have much to add to that. But I would say absolutely finding that thing that you enjoy doing so it doesn't feel like a workout. I think a lot of people have such an averse reaction to, for whatever reason, it's just boring to them, or maybe they feel like they don't have the right body to start going to the gym. They don't want to be judged, things like that. I know for myself, I used to go to the gym. I would do boot camp workouts and everything before I got cancer. And then afterward, I was a little bit, nervous about going back to the gym. And I happened to have a friend who is a fitness trainer. And so I went to her and I said, hey, can you just work with me for half an hour just to remind me like what I can do, show me the ropes again, because I hadn't been in a gym in a really long time. So, finding someone that can maybe hold you accountable in a good way, or, having compassion for yourself and finding that community, maybe finding someone else who enjoys doing the things that you enjoy doing, and that person can also be accountable. You can be accountable for one another, and starting that journey together.
I think you made a good point there, Haley, a couple minutes ago, and I think it ties into this, to what you just said, Ashley. Like, we're not necessarily talking about just physical fitness, right? I loved what you said, Haley, about that. Fitness is the vehicle, right? Community to you is that vehicle. So let's sit on that for a second. And like, what other vehicles are there to wellness, right? We have lots of different aspects of wellness. So fitness is one, community is one. Ashley, what other vehicles can you think of that would contribute to somebody starting this journey? Like you had said, you dealt with depression in your life. What was one of the vehicles that you used to work on that and get yourself out of that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think just recognizing that this was something that I have had on and off for my entire life. It's essentially chronic depression, and I've had moments where I've been completely fine and living my life and feeling okay. but when I'm in those holes, there's really nothing. I mean, it's really, really, really difficult for me to get out of those and to feel motivated to do anything. And so recognizing that and maybe doing things that go against my principles or just my belief system, being willing to experiment and to be open to things that I might not have been open to before. And for me, that meant taking an antidepressant, which, it's perfectly fine. And millions of people take antidepressants every day. It's not a big deal. But for me, it was, I'm somebody that thinks that I can do it all on my own. I don't need anything, which is just ridiculous. And so I think, just being open-minded. Maybe there are things that you would not have thought of before. But just being open to trying them to help you get back on track, so I know that was a big one for me.
I found a lot of empowerment in what I frequently call daring to suck. And a few years ago before my injury, I decided to do something that I'd been wanting to do for a long time. And I started competing in Highland Games. Was I good at it? No, I was not. I sometimes had games where I flirted with the very edge of competency, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. And I just kind of knew that look, I'm not going to go into this thing being a badass. And I had kind of a history of choosing my my challenges based on how good I thought I was going to already be at it. And being humbled in a way that is also, again, enjoyable. And gosh, if you ever get a chance to go to the Highland Games, go. Those people are awesome. The games are super fun. Haggis isn't nearly as disgusting as people say it is. And just to be part of this, this community, and to go in there and be like, hey, I'm the goofy new guy who's going to drop at least one of these things on my foot. Let's see which one. Was really freeing. And then, then I go and shatter my elbow, and I have a series of 5 surgeries, and I spend months in a hospital bed, and I am withered down to nothing. And I tried going back to the gym afterwards, and I thought I was going easy on myself, but I wasn't. I thought, well, I used to be able to handle a 400-pound squat, so now a 150-pound squat should be that's me taking it easy, right? No, it wasn't. My body wasn't ready for that, and my mind wasn't ready to be to have lost so much of what I had gained. I shifted to yoga, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to suck at yoga, but I know that. I can walk into yoga knowing that, nope, I have spent 0 time building a talent for this, and I can be fully comfortable with my status as a beginner. And that's been the greatest thing for me. Learning how to do a basic downward dog in yoga is in some ways a much bigger accomplishment than learning how to bench press 300 pounds. I always wanted to bench press 300 pounds. But to find something new, to find a new goal, to find a goal in which the talent wasn't there. And so the only vehicle by which I would get there is motivation and dedication, and learning to enjoy something that I went into completely disinterested. That was really motivating for me, and to step out of my comfort zone in that way, and to really just dare to suck.
I love that.
I love that too. I love that so much. I was going to say that, like, other vehicles I had being new at something, that's a big deal. That's awesome. This is also the same as like saying yes to stuff, and vehicles like church, because I'm in the South. I'm in the buckle of the actual belt, is a huge vehicle that can coexist with other vehicles like fitness. And so there can be multiple vehicles happening at one time. Like, we should, just like we want to have, what is it, like 5 revenue streams or something like that. I mean, I'm 1 1/4 getting there. But the same idea is that if we can dial as many levers up in our favor, like we can't lose, right? I think philanthropy is also a vehicle, like giving of yourself. That's a really big one that we probably could do better at. And also academia is another vehicle that is attractive and also healing in a lot of cool ways. Lots of them, I'm sure we could go on, but
yeah, I just love that. I love that concept of picking that way that you're going to get to a goal, right? And it's not always going to be the same. And
it shouldn't be like it should. It's not like this or like this. It's like it's not linear. No, like if we think it is, that's like one of the first things people got to learn. Like when we're doing this thing is, it's going to be sprinting to a 400 and then y'all are going to limp back 6. That's just what it is. And that is part of the obstacle.
I love in the beginning of the classic bodybuilding movie documentary Pumping Iron, that in the opening scene, it's Franco Columbu and Arnold Schwarzenegger taking a ballet class. And that kind of well-rounded approach to mastery of it's like, what? That ballet class, it's not going to make their quads bigger. It's not going to make them with rounder delts, but you know what? It's going to give you something. And that, when you focus on a goal, you've got to realize that goal exists like the rest of us in a 3-dimensional world, which means that there are so many avenues to that goal. And take as many as are available to you. And enjoy them. You're not going to like some of them, let yourself dislike it, but know it, you can, and after you've tried something, you can come away going, wow, I now have a very complete knowledge of why I don't wanna.
So, I think that's a good, that's a good point to kind of transition to maintaining that motivation, right? Because once you find that vehicle, you find those goals, you identify maybe, where you want to be, and you get on that path, whatever that path may be, you got to stay on that path, right? Yeah. So what are your guys' thoughts on maintaining the motivation to stick with it?
So we talked about motivation versus discipline, right? And as when we're young children, we're growing and we learn, this is hot, don't touch. We learn that we, brush our teeth when we wake up, when we go to bed, like we have structure, routine, habits. Habits are so important. Y'all, like we should have an AM habit. We should have a PM habit. We should have habits all the time. And this is soothing to us. This is what creates discipline. And without discipline, we're just sort of little chaotic beings bouncing around with no real end game or end goal. And not necessarily does that end goal have to be grandiose. It could just be like, simple stuff. But without that, we know what children do when they don't, without structure. It's the same. Why are we different? Because we're bigger? Because we're older? Nah. We
have a sense of irony.
Yeah, it's true. We need the same stuff. For instance, I like to use my gym as a reference because that's what I have. Inside our facility, we have a 1 hour to make magic happen. And that clock on the nose, the class will start. If you come in late, you're coming in late. We are structured on our mobility and warm up. We are structured on our skill or strength. We are structured on our Metcon. We're structured on our cool down. The whole thing has structure. Everybody loves it. Eat that shit up because they know what to expect. There's no guessing. There's no hard work. They can come in and apply all of their focus to this one specific goal. And so again, we talk about why that's different than motivation. It's not to say that motivation isn't also important, but it's so emotionally based that it could go away. Yeah. And when it does, because it will, we can't stay motivated forever. I mean, it undulates, right? But we can rely and fall back to discipline to buoy us, to save us. Accountability. Ashley talked about that. Community. These are all aspects that help us to maintain these goals. But in the end, it's you and you. Is if you want it for you. It's not if your best buddy wants it for you, because that won't matter when you want to sleep in. So that's like my upbringing is like martial arts that was like awesome to have as a young person, to understand like there's peace in this discipline, right? Like I know what to expect. I know how far out I can go or how I need to be. I can put all my focus here. Yeah, that's how I think we maintain.
I very much agree. And my training is different because right now it's all one-on-one clients and it's all online. I'm talking to someone through through a video, much like I'm talking to you now. Except, I've got dumbbells in my hand. But I've told a lot, like the discipline is, that is the structure, that is the skeletal structure. And having certain like you've got to define your own standards for how you're going to show up. For example, I would be on a training regimen where I told myself 4 times a week I have to walk into the gym. And so on a day when I felt horrible and when I didn't have it in me, I still had to walk into that gym. Now, most times that would be like, okay, I'd get in, some kind of workout vaguely resembling what I had planned. And you know what? Okay, cool. I still, I didn't get to be the superhero I wanted to be today, but I got to address my body in the way that, that needed to happen. On the far end of the spectrum, there were days where I walked into that gym. I walked past the entry door, took a breath, and then like, all right, I came and I turned around and I walked out. That wasn't the day, but I knew that my odds of training that day were better if I showed up. And I knew that if I got all the way to the gym, if I went through all the pain, to put on the right socks and, pack the bag and go there, and it still wasn't in there. Well, sometimes that's just an honesty you have to have with yourselves. And I've done that to clients as well. Most times if I'm working with a client and I'm looking on the other side of the screen and I see someone who just doesn't seem to have it today, most times what I'm going to do is adjust. I'm going to say, okay, I had this plan for us today, but you've got this level of energy and you've got, a semi, like a midterm to write and turn in, or you've got whatever else you've got going on in your life. And I see a point because again, every rep you do has a cost. Every push-up, every pull-up, every sit-up, every Turkish get-up takes a toll on your body. Now, not all of them are going to have a benefit. And I want to keep people in that cost benefit, area where they're getting something. And so every once in a great while, I will look at a client who showed up for the work today. I will say, thank you so much for showing up today, but you are taking today off and I'm not charging you. Go rest. Again, mostly it's like, okay, why don't we do a recovery day? Hey, why don't we brush up on our myofascial release and mobility rather than trying to, put you under a heavy barbell today? So having the plan, having the discipline to show up is so incredibly important, but and that allows flexibility to exist. Having a good plan, having a good structure is where flexibility flourishes. There's a reason why improv performers still rehearse.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that both Haley and Will have said. And I would say, to add to that, get to know yourself, right? Get to know the times of the day that you feel like you have more energy to work out, right? Like for me, it's first thing in the morning. I know that if I don't work out first thing in the morning, chances are it's just not going to happen It's just not going to happen. So I know that about myself, and I set the alarm a little bit earlier so that I can get up and do that workout, because that is the time of the day that works best for me. So knowing that, and also not beating yourself up. If you wake up one day, let's say, and early morning is usually the time that you work out, and you just don't have it in you, don't beat yourself up over it. It's just a day. I know sometimes, we can all be our own worst critics. And if you do have that day where you can't get yourself to do it and you beat yourself up over it, chances are the next day you might not do it, So having a lot of compassion for yourself, knowing when you have the most energy to work out, what brings you joy, what type of working out brings you joy, and also celebrating the small successes. I know that I had to do that for myself when I was rebuilding my body. Like I said, I'm a very impatient person when it comes to myself. And I knew what I looked like before, and I wanted to get back to that point as quickly as possible, but my body could only do as much as it could, and so every time that I maybe gained a little bit more muscle mass, or, got my hormones back on track, or whatever it was, I celebrated that, and took joy in just those small accomplishments that I was making along the way. And that also kept me motivated.
Yeah. And I think all those apply, again, both for physical fitness, that vehicle of physical fitness, but also, for the emotional, the spiritual.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, that discipline and that forgiveness goes together. But like, that can, like, I've been on this ice bath thing, like, helps my MS so much in the summer. So I'm not like a lunatic. And man, I got ice. I did a triathlon at Intercoastal Waterway in October, and I literally had every possible wetsuit apparatus applied to me. Like, I was so fearful of the cold. And now I have to face this thing that gives me healing, but it's like terrifying, and I suck at it. Goes back to the sucking, that thing. But I can be disciplined in it, even if I went 5 minutes less than I did the day before. Like, discipline can apply to all of these areas of wellness and or beyond on that continuum. It doesn't just have to be the fitness part. Like, that's all that I can really speak to, because that's like, where my knowledge is. But that can go to yoga, like Will, that can go to whatever heals you, fishing, like whatever your shit is, man. Like, put focus in that, and that will improve, and your wellness will improve. But you can't just fish and eat like shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And motivation follows discipline. That's I didn't start getting like, whenever I've been hamstrung by either, depression, which I've also dealt with, and like, or by injury, or by adversity, it was, I didn't start getting disciplined again when I became motivated. I became motivated when I started getting disciplined. It takes several times telling yourself, this sucks and I hate it, but I'm going to do it, before the day comes where you say to yourself, I'm going to do this, and man, I can't wait.
It's like loading the front, but also loading the back.
Yeah.
Right. And then the middle is discipline. Like,
yeah.
Again, not linear. But Ashley talks about like regenerative stuff as being life-saving. And like, this is a whole area, and maybe she experiences this, but I definitely experienced this, where like we don't wear shoes in the gym. I'm barefoot. I'm like, in the winter I put like, barefoot shoes on, but like, we're barefoot in the gym. Largely, not everybody, but like, that's what we are proponents of. That's weird as shit. Okay. Like, especially here in the South, like, they're like, what? I'm maybe like one of 3 people in town that has a mohawk and dreadlocks. I don't remember my point was about that, but going back to regenerative things, but that is the buy-in for that, to get people to like buy into that. Like, they won't buy into barefoot living as like something that's good for you. They're sure as shit not going to buy into like, lion's mane mushroom as being something that helps you neurologically, right? Or that probiotics are a thing. Again, going back to squat school, where do we get the information for that? Like, you're going to do, I don't even do this. 'Cause I don't even know. I've been on YouTube like 6 times. I don't even know. So I'm going to go, like, I'm going to look for it in people. He might look for it, online. Y'all might have the internet at your disposal, but generally we don't have an outlet to like get the information to apply to be better.
Yeah.
Like, we're swimming through this sea of like obstacles in life, and now, oh shit, I have a problem. So now I have to fix my problem, but like, I don't even know where to go. I don't know I can't talk about maintaining that because I don't even know where to find it.
Well, I think there's the opposite of that problem too, of it's not having the information, it's having an overload of information.
Paralysis by analysis. I think it's impossible to live in modern day without experiencing some paralysis by analysis, especially if you want to try something new. There is too much, there's too much advice for anything. And, for a lot of fitness, I mean, guys, it's fairly simple. A lot of it is, you can get a PhD in it and you can earn every letter. But, when it comes down to it, what really helps our bodies out is, it's pretty basic. And you can have fun on that. You can always build on it I mean this in the same way that playing music is basic. Being a guitarist is one thing, but you can learn how to strum, and that's where you have to go back to it. When I first wanted to play guitar, I bought the Eddie Van Halen method. I wasn't ready for the Eddie Van Halen method. I needed to learn 3 chords. And so, when you come down to it, if you're trying to start out, don't look at what The Rock does at 5 a.m. Come on, you're not there. Learn a few chords. Just go back to the basics and get that down. There's so much wisdom to be had in the basics. And even if you are a master, Miles Davis still practiced scales. There's no one's better than the basics.
Yeah, you could say that too about nutrition. When I was studying nutrition, they would talk about that all the time, that you might be at a certain level, but when you're working with clients, maybe they've never eaten a banana, or maybe they've never had any organic food, or they think that organic food is way too expensive for them. It's not in their budget. So you teach them, the basic foods that have tons of pesticides in, like, okay, start just eating organic strawberries, if that's within your budget, because berries tend to have a lot of pesticides in them, things like that, So you can apply this in all areas of your life. If you're someone that's trying to clean up your diet, don't go to the extreme. Don't go from eating McDonald's every day to thinking that you can just switch over to salads. Maybe start once a week eating the salads, and also too, it doesn't, for me, I'm all about everything in moderation. So, I allow myself to eat the French fries if I want to have the French fries, but maybe the next day I'll just have salad and make a smoothie, for dinner or something like that. I always try to keep a balance. I'm never extreme in the way that I do things, and I pay attention to my body. I think that that's something that people fail to do a lot of the times, is just tap into, I ate that hamburger and gosh, it didn't really make me feel good. Like, maybe I shouldn't eat that, or whatever, just really paying attention to, when you are eating foods, how does it make you feel afterward? Like I had mentioned that I was vegetarian for a good part of my life, and it had nothing, for me, it was just, I think I was a teenager and I woke up one day and just decided that that's what I was going to do. And I stopped eating meat. And I lived in Brazil for 9 years where people eat meat, and they all thought I was so strange. They were like, I don't understand. Why do you not eat meat? And I don't know if I really had any specific reason. It was just, it felt like that's what my body wanted. And then one day, I'll never forget, I was dating someone who, we went to the grocery store to buy food, and he decided to cook a steak. And he was cooking it. And I just remember looking at that steak, and it was like every single red blood cell in my body was like, you need that. I could just feel it.
It is
was
time.
Like, it is time to be a carnivore again, and this was like 20 years of not eating any meat. I had started to introduce a little bit of chicken and fish along the way, but red meat was just the one thing. And, the funny thing is that, I tend to have anemia, and my mother had anemia, and that's really what it was just sort of like bringing those levels up, the iron levels and everything. And so I don't go in extreme. It's not like I'm eating red meat every single day, but just incorporating a little bit of red meat into my diet. It was amazing. And it was kind of interesting to see some of the foods that I had been eating. Like I had eaten a lot of tofu. And tofu, my body does not have a good relationship with tofu. And I don't know why, but for years, I just continued eating tofu because I thought, well, that's good for you. And I don't eat red meat and it's a source of protein and blah, blah, blah. And then I cut that out of my diet and started eating red meat. And my body just changed and it felt so much better. And so I would say, there are so many different ways that you can be healthy, right? There's so many different diets and there's so many different ways of exercising and it's just a matter of finding what works for you. You can read as many articles as you want about how red meat is horrible and you should abstain from it, or this type of workout does this or whatever, but at the end of the day, do what's best for yourself. And if it makes you feel good,
You can talk yourself into anything with your online articles that it's like, oh, if I do the right quote unquote research, then it's like, oh, nope, the, very good doctor.tv / not a scam has told me that I really do need a pint of whiskey and a pizza tonight. So doctor's orders, you can find that anywhere. And it's never been, with all of the information and so much of it being BS, it's never been easier to lie to yourself and to find people who will assist you in that lie. So you kind of just you have to have that final ounce of self-awareness that says, maybe I don't have to take this to an extreme, but at the same time, there's no reason to ever convince myself that I went through a drive-through and got a double quarter pounder because it was the healthy option. It's like, no, that was the crappy option and you took it. No judgment, but let's not pretend it's something else.
Both of you are on it. It's awareness. It's like awareness in how we move everywhere. I intentionally wake up and I am aware that I am sweaty. Yeah. I'm aware that my fingers might be numb because I just slept like shit on my shoulder. I am aware that maybe I have residual, lower back pain from hours of garden work. Maybe I am aware that, this chronic pain in my knees hasn't gone away. This is not all me, but this is generally, right? This is generally how we might wake up. Or, one scenario, we wake up and we assess all those things. We move about our day. And none of those things are really gotten back to. Or we don't assess it at all. We headlong into the day because we know that what we're in for is just to be kind of beaten down in all of the ways. And we shut our awareness off. There's lots of reasons we're not being aware. It hurts to be aware. Yeah. It's like, oh shit, now I have to do something about this. Or I accept that I'm going to go get the fast food and that's just what it's going to be. But we hold hope. We hold hope always, or we have nothing. So the hope is that we can be better. We can beat cancer, right? We can, be the best trainer and change the most lives, whatever that is. But it's awareness and focus on that thing. And wherever we put our focus, we know this as adults, wherever we put our focus, we find improvement. We find obstacles that lead to improvement, but we find improvement. I was just gonna say, moving with that sense of awareness. Does red meat make me feel this way? If I eat ice cream, do I feel like shit? It's not the ice cream, yo. It's not the ice cream. You're lactose intolerant and you don't know it. Right?
Ice cream is a neutral force. It's your system that creates the reaction.
That's right. It's just rich. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like, we are not moving with awareness. We are distracted so much. Like, how much does gas cost right now? I don't know. It's cheaper by me, y'all. Move out.
Yeah.
But we can't. It's like, all right, now I need the information. I need to be better. I want to be better. I need to be aware. I need to focus on this. And then I need to find the stepping stone to get me to, what I'm looking for. And that's improvement, I'm hoping.
I love the joke of two young fish swim by an old fish, and the old fish says to the young fish, "How's the water today, boys?" And then as he passes, the two young fish look at each other and say, "What the hell is water?"
Mm-hmm. So, I think before we close out here, let's take, we've built the pyramid here, right? We've talked about like getting started, maintaining motivation. What about people who want to reach the pinnacle of a goal? What about the people who want to reach the top? Is it just motivation, discipline plus time? Or is there an extra variable in there that you look for when you're talking about maximizing wellness, or taking that extra step to just be the best, and not just maintain, but really be the best at something?
I have no experience in this.
It's a tough one.
When we talk about the pursuit of excellence as being something that we strive for in all aspects of life, and this is sort of like, I know I talk about CrossFit, y'all, like it's my life, but truly, like, it's the only life sport that has created this like complete umbrella for us to break down human life. It talks about movement, nutrition. It talks about the 10 general physical skills that you should have to be a moving human in life. And those skills will translate to this window or this vehicle or this door to crack open to leap through for other things. To be the best requires limited distraction.
Yeah.
We are inundated with distraction. We talked about information overload as being like a chronic thing. We talked about like nutrition as like really nobody having a great handle on it. All of these different things that create like roadblocks, but without them, you're only left to success. Like, you'll measure your metrics, you'll adjust, and you'll improve. Like, this is how we're creating women that can clean and jerk like 300 pounds.
Oh.
Right? We're improving the metrics all the time. We're improving our nutrition. We're improving our recovery. We're improving our mobility. We're improving cellularly how we move. And Ashley knows about that. Regenerative stuff. That's a real thing. Deer antler velvet. Like, there's a bunch of stuff. It's real. We combine all of those somehow with this like grand coach. I don't know where he is. And he probably charges a lot. But through that, we're able, with all of the vehicles, plug them in, right? Someone to help you out. You got accountability. You have determination. You're disciplined for sure. You're maximized. It doesn't happen often, because how many times do all of those things align? But I think you can see it sometimes. Olympians are maximizing the potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when we come into maximizing, when it's like, okay, like for me right now, my favorite method of training right now is mace training. I train with a steel mace. It is, it's like, it's made for me because depending on the day, it's either combat training or it's dance. So I feel like I can take a steel mace into any training day I'm going to have. And so now that is something where I don't know about the best, but I'm trying to reach a more elite level of fitness with it. And this is when, coming back to one of Haley's earlier points, I think this is when community becomes indispensable. Like, you can take care of your body, doing the workouts at home, never really open up a book, never interact with another human being regarding fitness. You can get the job done of being pretty fit or just being healthy. But if you want mastery, you will not invent this wheel. Someone has been there before. Someone has already done it and done it well. Get to know those people. If not personally, get to know their work, read their books. I'm taking a steel certification class at the end of the month with Eric Milan, one of the top steel mace trainers in the world right now. And that's, that's an amazing, opportunity that's not that hard to get. You have to pay for it, but anyone who wants to do it, the ways are there. But for mastery, it requires that humility to say, I'm not going to figure this out on my own. And I need to go out. I need to find the right trainers. I need to find the people who have come before me, everything they have learned. And I need to find myself some giants on whose shoulders I can stand.
Yeah. And I guess there's kind of two aspects to that, right? There's mastery, comparing yourself to others' benchmarks and accomplishments, and comparing to your own internal goals. And, there's overlap there, right? But
yeah, absolutely. There has to be.
What's the level at which you're measuring yourself against to whatever mastery might be for you, right?
Right, because are we talking about one thing? Or are we talking about all the levers? Because I'm looking like all the levers here. Like I want to be good across the board. Like, we're working on nutrition. We're working on, growing hobbies. Mm-hmm. I'm working on, fixing wounds. I'm working on being better wholly, right? Like we talked so much about workouts and fitness as being a vehicle, but that's it's a whole person that we're trying to establish and create, to grow. We don't want wellness in one area. We want wellness across the board. So mastery and all of that, that's tough. That's tough. But that is the goal.
Yeah. How much specificity do you want along with that? If a person doesn't know anything about deadlifting and they start going to CrossFit, they're gonna learn how to deadlift. It's gonna happen. But the best deadlifters in the world aren't going to CrossFit for deadlifting. That's kind of where, we get into the specificity of how an individual's goals, what's the best avenue for it? Hey, I want to learn how to deadlift. Well, why do you want to learn how to deadlift? Well, because I think that, strengthening my back and learning how to use the muscles of my back is going to be a great way to help my overall fitness. Go to that CrossFit class. They're going to deadlift in there eventually, and they're going to teach you how to do it right. But if your reason for wanting to deadlift is I want to pick up a bar with a mountain strapped to each side of it, then it's like, okay, go to that. Go to the dirty, powerlifting gym. Go to the barbell brigade, down the street, and talk to these Louis Simmon types guys who have stayed up all night just thinking about how to get that extra 2 pounds on your deadlift. It's there's many roads and they don't all lead to Rome.
You're right. And then you talk about demographically. We see a decline in seniors even wanting to improve themselves because for some reason everybody thinks after 40 it's over. There's no end to improvement. We should never not want to try to be better. We should never stop trying to fight for that or search for that or claw for that. Because again, going back to hope, I hope that I can live a long and functional life. I will continue to keep digging and hopefully unearthing that, even if I stumble a bunch, even if I figure out this high carb diet was not the route, that was the wrong route. Pizza every day is not the route, but I have the opportunity to back up, bring awareness to it, and keep continuing forward. The importance in all of this is that we understand that we can always be applying wellness. It can always be growing. We should always be fighting for that. And the end of things is when we stop, right? When we lay down, when we stop. Wellness is how we continue to be.
So let's close out here. Let's round the circle, and we're gonna do another kind of round robin and just kind of get your closing thoughts.
I think what's cool is like Ashley is from a completely different scenario of or vehicles. She's from a different vehicle, and she can still find merit in everything that Will and you and I are discussing, because if she's the closest thing to outside of fitness, she still gets it. Like, she can clearly see how discipline, awareness, all of these accountability, having a good plan, holding hope, saying yes, all of these things will lead you to improvement and wellness, or the betterment of, is the ultimate goal of being human.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, even if I apply this cool knowledge of like disc golf, I'm somehow I think I'm improving myself. Disc golf away, Mo, like, do it. If we apply our focus, if we apply our awareness, we apply all these things we discussed, there will be betterment. Like, there's no way to lose on that. That's what we're looking for. That's what humans continue to claw themselves towards. We got to help clear the clouds, like, show the way, be the light that shows people that there is chance for having improvement.
How about you, Ashley? Any final thoughts you have on this conversation?
Something that actually, Chris, that you touched on when the subject was on mastery, and comparing yourself to others, or whether you compare yourself to others or compare yourself to just your own goals and when you reach them and how far you can go with that. And I think that's a big one for me, is shutting that out, just not comparing myself to others. I think that is so common to do, particularly when you have a goal in mind, is to look around you. I think that's something that can happen quite frequently in the gym. You see other people lifting more weights or whatever it is, and you're not there yet. Their journey is their journey, and your journey is your journey, and I had to learn that in spades with some of the things that I've been through. And I just tuned everyone else out. And I tell you, people had some strong opinions about my body and what my body was capable of. And at the end of the day, I had to tune all of that out and just focus on what I really felt was I was capable of doing, and celebrating the small successes and having compassion for myself in those moments when maybe I didn't reach that goal, are all things that have kept me going. Self-awareness, compassion, community, accountability, all of these come into play. It's really not about, I mean, maybe it could be, well, I really want to fit into that size 4 dress or whatever. Okay, well, that could be a motivation for you. But when you get there, what are the things that are going to keep you in that size 4 dress, if that's really what you want, so knowing yourself, and knowing that this is for the long haul, that it's more than just fitting into that dress that you want to fit into. It's about, how are you going to feel when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60, and keeping that in mind. It's the long haul.
Will, you want to take us home here?
I just want to reiterate, you will never, ever take care of something for which you have contempt. So, loving yourself is necessary for survival, and take that first step. As cheesy as it feels, as wrong as it may sound, whatever version of you is going to walk into the gym tomorrow, that version of you is enough. It's good. And that acceptance will not dampen your motivation. It seems like it will, but no, that acceptance will spark your motivation. When you say, here I am, I accept what I bring to the world today. Let's see what this baby can do. That's when the motivation kicks in.
All right. Well, I want to take a moment and just thank all three of you, from the bottom of my heart for taking the time today to sit here and chat with me and chat with each other. Also, Ashley's cat. I believe that it was at Hobbs that was
both. It was the two of them. It was Aslan for most of it, and then Hobbs made an appearance at the end. Yes,
they were looking for the vehicle that is going to bring them dinner at some point. Yep. So
that's it.
I appreciate their patience as well with the conversation. No, but I really do. I sincerely, I appreciate you all coming on and being vulnerable and sharing your experiences and your perspective. I think these are the kind of conversations that are invaluable for people to be having, and I think especially after a year of being locked in and all of the emotional and psychological. I mean, we didn't even touch on that specifically, but all of the emotional and psychological turmoil that comes with this last year and change. I feel that this specific conversation is something that a lot of people have on their minds, whether they know it or not. So anyway, I just wanted to extend my gratitude to all three of you, and really, I do appreciate you guys taking the time.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
lovely
Chris.
Meeting all of you.
You as
it was
well,
so
yeah.
fun.
This was great.
All right. That conversation was really a treat to listen to. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and hopefully took something away from the experiences of the guests. Again, I'd like to thank all three of them for coming on and taking the time to talk with us today. It can be difficult to discuss our vulnerabilities as much as our strengths, so I applaud and appreciate the openness, honesty, and guts it took to do that in a forum such as this. Before we go, let's get to know the guests a little bit better. First up is Haley Gann, a self-proclaimed crispy bacon contessa and CrossFit affiliate owner. In her own words, she owns a kick-ass gym called CrossFit Bang Bang in preciously pollinated upstate South Carolina, where they've been running game on fitness for 7 years. Before that, she trained triathlon, bashed around at roller derby, kickboxed, and a myriad of other sports that concuss. She found her home in the constantly varied, high-intensity hub that is booty shorts and moxie, and grit, and balls, and rad community, and really nice butts. She always brings this kind of intensity and a smile. Next up, we heard from Ashley Smith. Ashley currently works at Amazon Web Services as a quality assurance manager for curriculum developers. Open-minded and full of wanderlust, Ashley enjoys immersing herself in other cultures and delving into the deeper meanings of life and how individuals live. She loves keeping up to date on health and fitness trends and is a certified nutrition coach. And finally, we had Will McMichael. Will is a personal trainer, actor, and writer. He began training over a decade ago and has built his business around helping people find enjoyment in bringing fitness to their daily lives. He is a big believer in mace training and other forms of functional strength. He lives in Las Vegas. Okay, once again, I hope you all enjoyed the show. If you have comments or would like to be a guest on our show, visit us at www.meltingpottalks.com and click on Join the Conversation at the top of the screen to fill out a form and contact us. Until next time, everybody, I'm your host, Chris. Be well and be good to each other.